I want to talk about something that I've been sitting with lately. Not because I owe an explanation, but because I've noticed a shift. And the shift is not just in my body, but in the way that people respond to it. I want to call this episode Private Practice. Because at some point, my wellness, my well being stopped being public, not hidden, not secretive, just private. When I first started sharing my health and wellness journey of sorts, quote unquote journey, when I started sharing my wellness online, it was about habit building. It was about showing up and learning consistency, building trust, rebuilding trust with my body. It was a journey of sorts. So I shared it like one. But somewhere along the way, habit turned into infrastructure. The routine turned into lifestyle. And then my body stopped being something that I worked on and start being something that I worked with. Part of that shift comes from my background in healthcare. For a little over a decade, I say around maybe 12 years, I worked in healthcare as a nurse assistant, direct care provider, PCNA. I was state tested, so I wouldn't have been considered a CNA, but a state tested nurse assistant. So in Ohio, they say STNA. I spent my career studying the anatomy of the body from the inside out, across specialties, across conditions, across outcomes. Over the years, I saw how quickly health can decline and how that decline is often invisible at first. Most of the time, people don't notice something is happening until something is broken, until there's a diagnosis, until there's a scare, until something is no longer so subtle. I will say, seeing things like that over and over again at a very young age. So today I'm sitting here recording this at 29 years old. And I told you this was the last 12 years of before I just made a recent career pivot. Seeing that over and over, conditions and specialties like that, seeing how the health can go up and go down, it really changes how you think about your own body, whether you have the capacity to immediately act on it or not. Wellness stops being abstract or aesthetic, and it becomes preventative, strategic, and time sensitive. So when I talk about health and wellness, I'm not talking about from trend culture. I'm talking from a proximity point of view. I'm talking about from watching and seeing up close and personal, having to take care of people in environments, places, in conditions, seeing what happens when it takes people too long to intervene. Something y'all may or may not know about me is I have very much like I'll be in my creative bag even when I'm on in the black and white world. But with that being said, I love entrepreneurship. I love ownership. I love creativity. I love authorship. All of the things that you can do without a system. But I've always been curious to know, like, what made you come up with that? What's the method behind the madness? So I've always been curious about systems. That's biological, psychological, and behavioral. So that curiosity today as an adult with a little bit more capacity than when I started led me into biohacking, and not in an extreme way, not in a sensational way, but as a way to reclaim agency. Now somebody gonna be like, oh man, here she go with this. Like, what is she trying to sell us? I promise you I'm not trying to sell you anything. I promise I ain't selling you nothing. I ain't trying to sell you nothing. But for me, biohacking was about asking better questions. Like when I got introduced to like, what is it? What is it about? And I still feel like if you don't know what it's about and you're watching this, maybe you should go ahead and look into it and see how vast it is. Because it was all about asking better questions. How do I reduce friction? How do I support regulation? How do I make healthy choices that feel natural instead of feeling forced? How do I work with my body instead of constantly correcting it. Because y'all know I'm pro natural, okay? I love a little razzle dazzle. I love a little tweakish there. I love a little enhancement, but I'm pro natural as fuck. And when I say pro natural, I mean just like what it sound like, kindly, respectfully. No BBLs, nothing against them. I can't even afford one if I'm being real honest. But no titty tucks, tummy tucks. I don't want no more titties, and I'm happy with the titties I got. You know, the nose job, nah, cause no. So that's what I mean when I say pro natural as fuck. Just exactly how it sounds. But no offense to anybody who is aspiring to be that type of girl or guy. Nobody that is already a goat in that realm of cosmetic correcting. Yeah, I'm for it. I'm not. It's not for me. You know what I'm saying? So around the same time, anyway, around the same time, I started pivoting professionally. Moving from purely clinical environments to a more psychological lens. So it was still evidence-based, still structured, just focused more so on behavior, identity, and systems. So that's when some other things clicked for me. Like every wellness struggle is not about necessarily willpower. Some things are about the environment that you in. Some of it is about the nervous system load. The cognitive fatigue. Some of it has to do with habits that require too much conscious effort. And that goes, one day we're going to talk about that, but I can almost bet 25 cents that I would like to talk about it one day, not today, but one day we'll talk about that in particular, that conscious effort, because I noticed that people would think that when people get on us on TV or on any type of screen behind the camera and they get to talking, that everybody is an expert. Everybody is not an expert. But if I was to show you and share with you some of the literature that I'm into, I can almost bet 25 cents that not everybody would be able to pick it up, because you already know the disclaimer and I carry it with me everywhere I go. But every class has a different level of understanding. So I totally understand if anything said here or seen here is not aligned with you. So instead of trying harder on this journey of sorts, me in my leisure studies, instead of trying harder, I started designing better systems. I wanted systems that made wellness feel like second nature for me, because I know me and I know that one of my biggest things in the beginning was consistency. Like, are you going to stick with it? It's never, for me, I can actually say for me, it's never been about, are you going to do what you said you was going to do? It's never that. I'm really a proactive solar plexus type of girl. I'm just do it. I am hashtag just do it. I'm going to do it. But in the beginning for me, it was about creating systems that made wellness feel like second nature. Systems that I didn't have to negotiate with every day. And here's something I don't see people really talking about. But wellness in itself, like the wellness system, health and wellness industry, vibe, frequency, whatever you want to call, that space is vast. Like the evolution of it looks different for everybody. That's another reason why I felt comfortable in the beginning stages too, because it was like a community. There's a collective for everything. Okay. There's somebody that is selling balloons and there's a whole collective of people that sell balloons. So when you think of health and wellness, think of like all over the world, how it may look different. But for me, context matters. So I'm a Black woman, and statistically Black women face higher risk when it comes to heart disease, hypertension, obesity related, complications, diabetes, and kidney disease. You know, in the Black community, all of these things are heavy and not really talked about until somebody's auntie or grandma or dad or mom is on the table. And I just, you know, I'm aware of that now. So, and when I'm learning this over the years, these aren't abstract numbers to me when I'm seeing it statistically. Okay. These aren't abstract numbers to me. That's like family history, you know? So yeah, cardiac issues run in my family. Obesity runs in my family. Diabetes runs in my family. Kidney issues runs in my family. So my relationship with wellness has never been about appearance only, like solely. It's not just driven by appearance, but it's about interruption and kind of breaking that chain wherever you can, so to speak. So I made a conscious decision to get a head start, not out of fear, but kind of like respecting my future body. You know what I mean? Because biologically, our late 20s and early 30s are usually when recovery slows down. Metabolism shifts and stress compounds. I didn't want to wait until something was wrong for me to start paying attention. And like I said in the beginning, again, seeing it on the other side of the desk, being a person who's caring for people with these issues and conditions and things that they can't see. All they know is they've been sick for however long. And it could have started here. It could have started in the kidneys and ended up in the heart. It could have started in the heart and ended up in the uterus. It could have started, you see what I'm saying? So, these type of things, seeing that over and over again, so whether you have the capacity to act on it immediately or not, whether you have the know-how, the resources, how should I start? Where should I start? It still will have you thinking like, well, what's going on with me? So, I feel like that decision changed everything. My wellness stopped being reactive. My well-being, how I treat this journey, how I take this journey on into a lifestyle. It stopped being reactive and it became maintenance. Like, no, this is a part of when I'm doing my hair, I'm also doing my and I whatever. You know what I mean? That's when things got quieter for me. You understand what I'm saying? Because when things are actually working, for some reason, I just don't feel the need to narrate it. like I don't need to narrate it in real time. I'll say that. I like to show y'all what I'm up to, but I don't need to narrate it in real time because I'm not experimenting anymore. This is something that I know. I'm not crowdsourcing for advice. I'm under care, and there's a difference. We live in a culture that confuses entitlement with access. And people assume because, like, oh, I can see the results. I see it working. What you doing? What you into? Like, they feel like they deserve the process. But the results are public. The process is not. But when I do share, what I will share now is language and outcome, not instruction. Because my well-being and my wellness and the statistics against me and my family history is not content. And it had to click for me. So you might see some old videos and some old pictures and some old, yes. And I'm going to tell you how things were and how things are now, but those numbers aren't content. For me, it has become infrastructure. See, sometimes being of influence means being observed or being copied. And I can honestly say, for real, y'all, because y'all know it used to bother me. And I used to be very open about it bothering me. That don't bother me no more. And if you was to ask me, like, okay, Charmaine, where you get that from? And who got you hip to that? And where you learn that? Where you learn that shit? Where the fuck did you learn that? I'm more than happy to tell you. But something that I do protect myself against now that I have built a little bit of capacity, I have built a little bit of polished, I have built a little bit of humility. I will say something that I do protect myself against, real heavy, real strong, is proximity without discernment. Because inspiration is healthy. You inspired, that means I'm doing something nice. That means I'm doing good. Like, you like it? Oh my God, right? For real. That's if we check in. How many can agree though? I've shifted my perspective over the years. I told y'all I was very open with like, motherfucker copying me, I'm pointing it out. Like, bitch, why do you keep doing what I do? And why do you think you're doing it right? But I've reached a level of capacity, my maturity. I mean, sometimes I still think like that, but it can't bother me no more. It can't. It can't bother me no more. Inspiration is healthy, but entitlement is not. I'm warm, I'm generous, I'm grounded most of the time. But I'm very clear on what I don't owe. I don't owe you timelines. I don't owe you dosages. I don't owe you medical disclosure. What I do owe myself is sustainability. That's what maintenance really looks like. When you've reached a level of like, maintaining is boring to watch, quote unquote. Oh, she boring. Man, she don't be posting about shit. She boring. Boring to watch, but powerful to live. I don't chase motivation anymore. I build systems. I cannot like it's hard for me to stray away from. I build systems that I actually desire to come back to on my best days, on my worst days, when ain't nobody watching. So if you're in a season where your wellness feels loud, keep going. Keep going. That's the beginning though. I'm gonna let you know. That's the beginning. And if you're in a season where it's getting quieter, protect that.